Hello everyone. The title of today's episode is Shaking the Grounds of Truth. And so this is where man, in regards to how he is seeing ideology, begins to be in the same arena as the earthquake. For there cannot be a change of self without a change of world. You may think you have problems, you may think you are suffering, but your suffering must be a change of your world, because all you have been doing as a human being is being here. You exist in the way you do, for there is an intention. And the reason we are only needing that interpretation is because man is trying to observe the world around him through dualistic cause and effect. But if one was to look at geometry and just simply shapes, just geometry, if you saw a triangle, you would begin to see it's as if one point is originating 2 points that create a line on another dimension. What that means, duality is created to then become triangular in the sense that there is a simultaneous acknowledgement of your sense of collective with your individuality. Now, to get into this a bit more clearly, I want you to see it like this. You have 2 eyes, so let us take these 2 eyes simply as a consideration of seeing a dualistic life, seeing a world of good and bad, cause and effect. Now, these 2 eyes within you are present in some sphere of awareness that is aware of everything without having to do something. So before you thought about what to do, what were you receiving? What was life like? And you see, it was just a moment. If you choose to have this sense of wanting to, in a very agitated way, constantly figure it out, trying to firmly hold something, you cannot, because you cannot go from a reality, limited reality, in trying to capture what is real in a limitless reality. The consciousness has to change. So the 2 eyes must not see separate. They must see that all separation is being kept in one view, in one place, in the here and now. And of course, this is my interpretation of these ideas, guys, because that's all you are as a being. The interpretation you have and the awareness you get and how your world shifts. Two eyes, once they see the same, have always been one gaze. We must not let imagery distract us from our natural exploration of that image. What that means is that if someone comes and tells you reality is like this, you must have this sense within you that you sincerely also want your exploration. You want to search it out and figure it out for yourself. Don't think that you have to just work for success. You have to work to be open in life. You have to work to get involved in life. And this is not a work. It's not like, gosh, man, do hard work. No, it means you must be interested in the world you live in, for you are it. Be interested in the self that is projecting the sense of other. Submerged in deep thought, the blessing that one receives is nothing, for there is no thing. You as an existential intelligence are present, you're becoming aware of your environment, you're recognizing different actualities and potentials of how you're real, but every project and every idea you have, what is more interesting for you is the awareness to it and your whole moment being your whole source of intelligence, rather than this physical body being the thing that is keeping you. This physical body is a consideration of manifestation, and you must consider yourself beyond it, because then the limitations won't be created in this way. Through a limitless knowing, the limitation was just a pleasant memory. You see, you work with understanding in a way where you're not standing under anything. Imagery is part of your presence, and so fear was an aspect of your reality you were pushing away. Your presence holds your personality, and once your personality looks at who, or not who, but what is keeping it, the existential intelligence that is keeping it, it is no longer individual. It recognizes it was never what was held. Evolution means that not are we physically going to change, but also the way we are aware of a sense of other and physicality is also evolving as well. And so Mr. Within would playfully like to say, it is as if your whole plane of existence is evolving. So tune into this reality, not through a distinction, a differentiation, or a hateful act to convince yourself that you are right when loneliness is your doing. There's no need to be lonely. All light is here with you, and this guidance is your natural birthright. Be aware of your plane and become conscious as your world, and then you will see, you will no longer think whether it's right or wrong to pick up trash. You will no longer think if it's right or wrong to do this or that. You will not be judged by temporal spectrums. You are going beyond spectrum. You are seeing what the moment is, and you're going based on what is right in the moment. That is the new conduct that man must learn. That he is here no longer to just learn from the mistakes of the physical body and how he fell down, but the mistakes of how the intelligence of this moment of being that you are is projecting reality. Once you learn from there, an aspect of you is here, but in a sense never here. You feel it, and it's not an idea-based thing. It's an experiential thing. It's that moment where you have waited for the solitude of lifetimes, and when it comes, it was never about time. And so, what is life beyond space and time? But the origination of a moment that can consider. Us choosing to have truth in a limitless world is choosing to look at the interpretation a bit too long. Become conscious of that which is here. Look around you. Voices and communication is not just based on language. You are an existential being. You have ways where existential communication is happening through you, for it is you. So what that means is you're not just existing in the form you are. We are on the edge. It's as if there was a spectrum of subtle to gross in regards to how a painter could just splash paint on a painting. You would begin to see those parts that were lighter would be more of a collective sense, and those parts that are much thicker are more of a solidified sense. Because it is an understanding of possibility that keeps the impossible real. There is such an understanding. It's as if, like, on one side we're like, it is so real, we're physical, that other side it's not being given the allowance to naturally be perceived. Man must recognize his machine is the human ego. That was the first machine that began all inventions that became mechanical, you know. So what that means is when man looked at how he worked, he chose to work at himself. He chose to take rather than to be. He chose to do rather than to be. But if you recognize that these are both aspects of existence where you are simultaneously here, but here, as you observe it deeply, is profoundly implying different localities of being, different localities of consideration. And when I say different localities of being, so if you were to look at the words human being, you know, you would see, like, right now, the human is changing. We're assuming we're all being, right? And so the human is changing, right? And as the human's idea and mind is changing, during these lifetimes, like, human beings have lived for a while, guys. And so as they've lived, they've kind of been aware, okay, it's not about just this change, you know? It's about an awareness to the change that is changeless, for that is how you're aware of the change. What that means is, if I'm sitting in the football stadium and I'm looking at the footballers, it's perhaps a much different experience than being on that field and running as a footballer. What you will see as that audience member, you're stationed, you're still. In stillness, dynamism is life. In dynamism, stillness is life. What that means is life is everywhere. You know? What that means is man's integration means two ways. One, technologies connect and, you know, some good stuff happens. Or two, all duality considered by individuals in the plane shifts into a collective knowing. So visualize your fingers frozen and suddenly your fingers are working. Your palm is working in ways where where even a break dancer, you know, is giving you a thumbs up. So but pretty much, guys, the suggestion here is an awareness to how you're empty. Everyone is trying to tell you how to fulfill your life, how to find happiness. Mr.Within wants to say actually the opposite. I'm going to tell you how to find emptiness. Because emptiness is what you need before happiness, because you don't know who is here. You don't know who needs to be happy. And the reason is because you are basing your individual consciousness on the temporal fluctuation of that which you're seeing in your environment. When man can stand still and his environment cannot touch him, he is the world. Do not be surprised by what is within you, for it has the ability to evolve your world. It has the ability for you to go into senses of consciousness where the abstractions would be the gifts. Your guidance will no longer be, you know, number signs, you know, or some kind of innate inner feeling. It would be an awareness to how, as you have become aware of thought, you're seeing you're not thought. You're aware of thought just like how you're going in the forest and all this stuff is coming. The reception of the machine is, in a sense, how would I say it? The communication has nothing to do with the machine. How you are present and existent and alive here has nothing to do with how mechanical design is being suggested. Man is an observer. What that means is he has an experience as, let's say like this, man has an experience as an object of observance. You're seeing your physicality, but he also has an ability to observe, to be the observer. And so when the observer and the object of observance are looking at one another, on some level, they are one. In the sense that the two was always being seen by one. What that means is, even though each player on that football field was having their own reality, you were capturing how the game was being played. And so omniscience means that aspect within you that is no longer chained to wanting work with shape for its freedom. What that means is you don't need to move the shapes in your life more than you need to move the awareness, the shapeless awareness. And what that means is that not move the shapeless awareness, but as you become aware of how your attention is being your attention, your reality shifts because your consideration is changing. You know, a lot of beings who talk about liberation, it's not that they're all going up the same ladder, you know. It's not the same thing. It's, in a sense, the same awareness to all things, because everyone is given their own unique seat in existence. Everyone has their own way of being here. But at the same time, once you see what is being here, nobody had their own way. Do you see? And so it is that awareness. Man's mind needs to evolve. So what that means is stop thinking that you're just an individual consciousness. Have a sense of collective consciousness. What that means is if instead of thinking what a human being, in other words, if you're in a situation and you don't know what to do, instead of going to some external power, just consider what would life do? What would the whole consideration of reality do in this moment? And when you become that aware, when you're keeping that in your state of awareness, you begin to see it's as if man has brought a great beacon in front of himself. And so it's like, even though there is illusion, the beacon is there to guide you. And so perhaps some of the greatest beings on this plane walk alone to see that they were never alone. I hope this talk has served you. Begin receiving life as your moment of being, not as just the human idea. Language and sciences and theories and even religion, the physical, anything you find physical here is to teach you more about physicality. So what that means is see that everything that is coming to your awareness is here to make you more aware. So if a physical phenomena your attention is going, there will be more of a physical reality, you will be aware. If it's going to non-material things, there would be that kind of awareness there. So this sensitivity to how perhaps the same leaf stands green in one season and crumbles in the next, we begin to see the acknowledgement of life always had a changing progression to it. So if we are basing our happiness on who we in one moment of our life want to be for our whole life, then we may choose too soon what we do not know yet. And so you may begin to see that once you begin, instead of thinking that far ahead, just bringing it down and becoming aware and mindful to your moment, you as a being could survive in any manner. And what that means is, let's assume that I right now lost everything. Let us just consider that there was no value and it had gone to the point where you had, as a human, physical human being, had nothing, and you're just standing here and you're like, gosh, life. What happens? When you go into that position, all that one can do is move. This physicality here is here to be directed. What that means is if you want to get to work, you need to get on your car, use your car. If you want to live, you need to be aware of this body. Physicality must not be ignored, and some people go see these yogis and think they never need to do anything physically anymore. No, physicality must be maintained and kept in the most healthy way. In other words, based on Google, we can all really develop healthy systems. It's just we need to also create the space of thought for those systems, and some old thoughts are right now, in a sense, being not fought with, but realigned. Because there has always been intentions and divine attention and transcendental forces in this world who have aligned man selflessly. And so it is simply because you as your human phenomena are made to be here and to be present in this physicality and to see the value of your unknown no longer in the ideology of I don't know, but being so present that you see the unknown here within your knowing. And when that moment occurs, there's a silence, and you will see, you will have a clarity where if you don't do anything, life will come and ask you to do it. What that means is Guru Padmasambhava, there's this story in a sense about him where there's some conflict happening on the other side of the world, and the kings are like, gosh, what do we do? Who do we call? And they're like, call Guru Padmasambhava. And suddenly they see Guru Padmasambhava just got to their border as if he knew, and he began walking. Life will guide you once you trust your moment, but you must be aware. Ideology is its own game, and it's the awareness beyond the player, beyond an actor. So in a sense, have some observance. The best things that you can do is, first of all, realize, because what is realization? Why do you want a sense of enlightenment, nirvana? Why do people like it? Because it's just suggesting a more comfortable state than where they are. So realize that this progression to realization includes a full awareness of you to your state of being. So stop thinking you have birthdays. Every moment of your being, be aware of the existential fluctuation that is happening. Man needs to realign his consciousness internally for then the externality to align based on the natural phenomena man is. So what that means is you as you are naturally connected. It's as if me and you are part of nature and we are growing in the way we are. And if we forget that we're growing the way we are and think we're not and stop growing naturally, in a sense, it might hinder us. And so why have hindrance when we can walk swiftly? Clarity is now, and what that means is even if you're in a situation you don't understand what to do and you gotta go live empty, what man does is work with the trust of his moment of existence and constantly clarify that moment of being for himself. What that means is if you're in a situation you understand, just as your moment of being, selflessly, without an idea judging itself, without a guilty you doing anything, selflessly as a moment of being, observe and see what is the phenomenon in my moment. Where are these ideas coming from? Become fascinated with how you think, my friends, because then you will dissolve the thinker and you will go through a direct experiential opening where it's as if like you always knew you had this allowance, so you just flow. Just like how you know how to walk and you don't have to organize and plan, you will get that kind of smoothness in all that is happening, for you are no longer working as a body who has to run in this world, but as the intelligence of your moment of being, which is now, which is present, which is where presence is lost and found, infinitum, to have never been. The mystic knows that his eyes belong to all that can be known. And so there are no labels that can capture anything, because no beings could be slaves. No beings could be changed. Only the forms and the ideas and the associations that being chose to consider can be changed. There have been beings who have stood in such focus that they have been undisturbed by external reality. Guru Baba has this other story where I think in his 20s or sometime, he's walking around and he's a very realized being, and he suddenly sees this princess by the river or something, and he starts giving her teachings, and what happens is suddenly a spy begins to see that, oh gosh, this guy's, the girl's with him, and so pretty much what happens is the spy notifies the king brings Guru Baba in front of the kingdom. They're like, we're gonna burn you, and so he just looks at the beings there, and I'm sure he was looking in a manner where he's like, all right, and he was not even looking at the beings, he was looking at his whole moment. And what happens next is that Guru Baba goes and sits in where there are flames and there's all the wood, and he just sits in meditation. As he's in meditation, after a couple hours, Guru Baba opens his eyes. And he looks around and he sees how the whole world has learned something. And so he gets rid of the ashes, and so he stands in that fire untouched by the flame. His meditation went undisturbed. His focus to manifestation went undisturbed. What that means is when the external world came and told him, you cannot exist, you're going to die, he sat here and through his moment of being paid attention to his manifestation, and in a sense was there. You see, was not in the external. And so the external was just a passenger in the presence of such a being. And of course, there is a respect given to all beings of such figure, for they are the beacons of man's greatest unspeakable experiences and possibilities of experiences. Compassionately walk in this world as the world, for then there is no surrender. for all is present in your moment. Shaken by admiration, your way belongs to no man. Much blessings and namaste.